Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another chapter of Experiencer Interviews. And today we've got another amazing story, but this time coming from Canada, the Great White North. We have Lisa Savoy on board today. Lisa is a lifetime experiencer since the age of 3.5 to current time. She is the author of the book, Living in Two Worlds, a true account of alien encounters. In it, she delves into her contacts with the Greys during her childhood, where she called them the little people. She also had contact with the Reptilians, the Men in Black, and a Nordic named Angie. As she grew older, her experiences became more intense and traumatic, but managed to make it through. Lisa now lives in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, with her 2 boys and her beloved husband. She is grateful for the steadfast support of her husband and family, and her book can be purchased on Amazon. So, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me on.
Before we get into your story, could you tell me if you recall having any past life memories?
I remember since my childhood how I used to have these recurring dreams. I remember being in a ship and they had like a huge window, and I was looking down at a planet below us. And I have this memory, the whole planet just lighting up like really bright, just full of bright lights. And I remember feeling very frightened and very sad, like really sad. And I remember some years after that, we actually got a chance to go back down to the planet when it was safe. And I can remember I was there with my family, and I can remember the damage. It was terrible. The sky was dark. It's just all dry sand. The trees are all shriveled up black. And I can remember in my mind what the areas look like. I can remember the pathway there of the trees, and I can remember homes that were there. They were all gone. They were all destroyed. And I remember feeling really dreadful and sad. And I knew it wasn't a dream. It just felt too real. It was too real. I can't really say what planet it was. People asked it was Mars, but I can't say. I don't know where it was at. I always believe in reincarnation, and I do believe, just being reincarnated over again on Earth. How about other planets as well? But I still drink once in a while, not as much, but every time I do, it just feels so weird because I remember at that time I had really long, dark hair, like deep brown or black. And I remember I had a really dark complexion, and the clothes I had on was like gold, shiny gold, like 2-piece. And my family there with me were dressed the same way, and they all had the dark hair and the brown eyes. But this felt so real to me, and I was aware that I was a different person in a different time. As a child, I wasn't aware of much of reincarnation, so it was confusing to me. But this felt like that was actually there.
Do you suspect this could be like a contributing factor to why you're having contact now?
I don't know. Like, I didn't really think of it that way, but it could be a slim possibility, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's get to your Earth story. When did everything start off for you?
I remember I was quite young. I was like 3.5. And at that time, it was a while ago, it was in Cambridge. And we used to live in a row housing. And in my backyard, you can see like a small man-made hill. On top of that, I had train tracks. And between that and our yard, there was a wire barbed fence, so nobody can get through there. So what I used to do, like at home when my mom was busy doing something, I would sneak outside. I'd go out my front door. I would take a turn to the right, I would go down quite a ways. It's quite a ways down the street. I would walk down there. And I get down certain ways, and I took a right turn to the part there where this man-made hill was, the tracks on it, but there's a part there where you can walk underneath the tracks. And behind the tracks, there's this huge field. I mean, it was huge. It was a really big area. And I went in there a little further. I took a look to the right, and I noticed this object. It looked like the sun. And it was changing colors from red, white to yellow. And it was moving to the right. And I thought, that's not the sun. What is that? So I kept watching it. And then it just stopped moving. It just sat there and it hovered. Then it started getting closer, like coming in closer to me. And I noticed it changed. Like it had like lights going all around it, like orange, yellow lights going all around it. And it looked kind of beautiful. And at the same time, it had like a black, like a thick black ring going around it, around outside the sphere. And it kept getting closer. As it got really close, like getting really big, it turned, it was no longer glowing like the lights all around it. It turned to a huge, shiny metallic surface and like a copper. And I could see the reflection from everything on it. It's like the reflective surface. And it was so huge. I get too far as there. After that, it'd be blank. And then after that, I remembered, okay, I'll head back home now. So I start my way back home. On the way back home, I met some kids that I knew and some friends of mine as well. And they start talking to me. They go, Lisa, where have you been? Your parents been looking for you for hours. And I was confused. I go, what do you mean? I just went down to the field, came back home again. And she said, no, you've been gone like for hours. And they can't find you anywhere. And I thought, okay, I met a couple kids that said that's my way back home. So I get home. My mom and dad were really upset. I was like, where have you been? We've been looking for you for hours. Where have you been? And I thought, I'm confused. It just didn't seem right to me. Because many times I wander off. I never had this happen, but oh, they're so upset. They would send me to the room. And sometimes I didn't have anything to eat, supper. And I go, is that gone that long? And it just didn't make sense to me. That happened to me multiple times, a lot. And there's a couple times I remember like going down there. There's a couple times I did see the ship take off before I left. And again, it made it more confusing for me because, I'm there, I get this thing comes down. And since I'm missing the part when it get taken, there's actually memories I've seen it take off. So when I went home, like I can leave in the morning and not go home till like later in the afternoon. So it was a while.
Yeah. So at
But
least
even
4 hours of
though,
missing time.
yeah,
Wow.
even though like I get in trouble for doing it, it's just weird. I just had this strong impulse to go down there. I just had to go down there. I had to go down there. It's just too strong for me. I just had to go down and see this object. And when I get home, yeah.
So you don't recall what happened during that time.
No,
Okay.
I just remember feeling tired and hungry. I remember that.
Yeah. So when did your encounters with the gray happen? Or the
Okay.
grays?
Okay, I remember first time that I remember seeing them. I was in bed. I'm not sure what hour of the morning it was, but I'd be in bed and something would wake me up. So I sit up. I noticed the wall was so black. I mean, it's like the wall didn't even exist. Like it was gone. And the room felt cooler than normal. Like this is during the summer. It's really hot. I mean hot, but the room just felt cooler. And then I noticed these little beings coming in through my wall. And I thought, what? What's going on? It didn't frighten me. But anyways, I got up out of my bed. I walked over a little bit to one of them. They're little grays, like 3.5 feet tall. And I started talking to them, like, how did you get in here? Like, how did you come to my wall? Like, how did you get here? And so, but I got no response for them. And I thought, okay, this is strange. And so I put my hand out to one of them. Just a friendly handshake, whatever. He just stared down at my hand. Then he looked at me from head to toe. Then the atmosphere felt weird, strange, like something's not right here. And then I noticed, like there's made them all together. Half of them went way over to the right side. Then the other half went way over to the left side. I thought, what's going on here? And then also I can feel like invisible force, not just wrapping around me, like really tightly. I can feel it going through me. And I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. I couldn't even touch my finger. I couldn't even move my eyes. I could do nothing. And then all of a sudden, I can feel myself being lifted off the floor and towards the wall. Well, there's nothing there. And I try to fight it. My first instinct, like, fight this. Like, I gotta get away. What's going on here? I don't know what's going on. But I learned if you fight it, you get this terrible pain, this horrible pain. And so I remember that, and I was so terrified. Like I tried to scream, I could not scream. It's like there's just no air in my lungs, and so I couldn't scream. So I took the screaming in my mind for my mom, and after that, I would black out, and that's all I remember at that time.
So did you see them coming through I
Oh
suppose
yeah.
it was a black portal.
Oh, the whole wall was black. It's just pitch black. Yeah, like it wasn't just a certain spot, but the whole wall. Yeah, this is the back wall across from me. It's just black as night. Yeah. And you
That-
feel like a cool, it was comfortable, not uncomfortable. It wasn't really freezing. It was just like something like that's way to describe something like air conditioning at the comfortable level. It was like that. Best way to put it. Yeah, make you understand, but it wasn't really freezing cold, no.
That's interesting because one time in 2013, I woke up to having a black oval. I call it a disc in the beginning, but it would look more like a black hole. So I'm wondering if that's the first phase of, let's say,
Yeah.
your wall becoming entirely black.
Yeah. I just remember just total darkness. It's like the wall's not even there. Like something opened up. As a child, I used to think magical door wasn't a magical door they used. Like, I wasn't aware of dimensions or any other. Like I said, I never heard of aliens or UFO. So
Yeah.
I call them little people because they were small, like 3.5 feet high. And I knew they're intelligent and, even though they look different, to me, they're still people, right?
See, I grew up maybe like a few hours north from you. So that's fascinating that we're living out these experiences in that neck of the wood. So did you have any fear of the dark after those events, things under the
Oh,
bed?
oh, I still do today. Like today, even when I snicker out, like I have these LED nightlight, like a dragon, like it was just like on a piece of glass, and it's like etched, and the light goes through the design of the dragon. I actually have one of those in my room. I can't sleep in the dark. Like I remember one time the power went out, the light went out, and I was terrified. My heart was beating so fast. Oh, it was terrible. It's just like it's terrible fear. You know, if my husband goes away, I would leave the light on all night long. Because if I hear a noise, any noise, I can't sleep. No, it's a terrible fear to have. It's just I did everything to get rid of it. I just can't get rid of it.
Okay.
It's just
So when did your abductions start?
okay. Not too long after the experience I had in the field there with the object I seen. Like after I seen the guys, I remember I would have these nightmares. And it would be after they took me. And I remember they would do these medical tests, and I didn't like that because they have you on this full table. They would they remove what you're wearing. They would take that all off. You'd be lying on this table and you can't move. And I remember recalling being strapped down sometimes. And I remember it's like a rough medical exam, the best way to put it. It's just the way they handled you. Like when they grab you, right, when they put their hands on you, they just had these fingers that just poked, like dug into your skin. It was not a very comfortable feeling. They were a little rough, and they would take blood from me. I remember that. They would take some of my hair, some of my skin, but there just was no empathy there. Like they just took you and did what they had to do. So it was rough that way. And as I got older, it actually increased. It did. It just, yeah.
Do you recall what instruments they might have used?
Oh, I remember they had needles. They look huge. They just look huge. I don't know because of the fear in me of needles, but they look a little thicker, a little longer than what we have. So I don't know if it's, and I remember too, as I got older, sometimes they had me drink this horrible liquid. It's like a brown, something like hot chocolate or tea. Some people use that to describe it, but it tastes horrible. It was terrible. It was like a sour, bitter taste. It was the worst stuff. And after you drink that, you would feel so out of it, so doped up. And I think that's one reason why some people have a hard time remembering that stuff is because of that. I don't know what they're giving you, but
So you never found out what the purpose was for drinking that?
it made it's like a drug. Basically, you feel a little doped up, and sometimes I think that's what I'm not sure if it's to help you. I don't know. All I know is sometimes my memory gets blurry. Yeah, and I think it's just to keep you more calmer for them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I woke up being drugged up once with having shadow beings in the bedroom, so I don't recall being given anything, but who knows?
No, it was terrible.
Okay.
Yeah, other experiences mention it too, so I don't know.
Okay. So what happened after taking the beverage?
Um, they would continue on with the experimentation on me. They would do that, and as I got older, then just the stuff they did, like I remember just one memory I have is horrible. I just wish I didn't remember it. I remember they would put a device on my head. And it's something like a headband, like a go across your forehead this way, like that. and they would put a piece on top of my head. And I remember it was like a not a really shiny silver, but and it actually had like small thin hairline circles going inside it, if you know what I mean, just going all the way through it. And they would put that on my head. I remember the headpiece, like it was metal. Then it had like another metal piece going around top of it and has like screws or something like holding up into place. And each end of it, there had like a black wire here and trying down here for my forehead. And they would give me these shocks. And that's another thing they would do to me. During my childhood, they'd give me that, and it's just a helmet as an adult today. And the frequency's a little stronger than it was during my childhood as an adult. And why they done that to me, I don't know.
Figure out your pain threshold, perhaps?
I don't know. I really don't know.
So you've had I guess you were trained in a sense because you've had these experiences regarding having to go through a maze. So it's like,
Yes.
yeah, get into that.
Yeah, this is the one that people find really interesting. I remember I was really young when I first started. I think would be like 3.5 in there before in there. I remember we used to take us in the room, and in the room, like they had a table in there. I didn't like the table, the white table, because the way it was set up, it made me think of the examination table. Like there was me, there was 2 boys and a girl. And we'd be sitting on one side of the table. And the other side would be like a couple grays there. And they would instruct us what to do telepathically. They communicate with you telepathically. That's how they communicate with us. And they gave us best way to describe like a tablet, like those big tablet things, iPads, we call them. It was something like that, but it was pure white. It was white. It was thin. It was like a square sheet. And they gave us something like a pen. And at first they gave us a tablet, so there'd be already symbols on it, and we had to remember these symbols. At first we weren't really sure why, but it's just a test we had to do, so we would learn those. And sometimes we help one another out, like we'll do a competition who can number the most first, who can learn them, we do stuff like that. But the girl there, she was not doing very well. She was always teary-eyed, nervous, and we knew she wasn't gonna last very long. So anyways, he'd done that for a while. And once we learned everything, I remember they took us out of the room. They took us down this really long white hall. We went down the hall there. And we got down to the end. And the door opened up, it opened, like it was interesting, like from the side, like the entranceway, it opened slow, slower to one side there. And it was inside the wall, like it didn't open like our doors did. And when we went inside, it was really a strange feeling because we went in there, like it's like a rectangular shaped room. But it wasn't bright as the white we were before in the room, and the hall was really bright white. It was like darker, and the walls like medium gray. And then on the walls, they had like thin, narrow lights, like going up and down on the walls, different patterns in the room there. So we went into the room. It didn't feel good at all. We went into the right. And after we went into the right, we'd look down the other end, and you can see like 9 doorways on the wall there, like 3 entranceways. And like there'd be 3 in the top, there was 3 in the middle, and there was 3 on the bottom. And they were lit up inside, like even outside, you look inside, you can tell there's some type of lights inside them, like a blue, whitish color lights. And it was really interesting. And there was like a ladder, a stick ladder you can use to go up to second and third level if you had to. And so I remember the first time I went in there, I went on inside on the bottom left side. That's the first one I went into. So I didn't have to use the step ladder to go inside. So I went in there, and the other kids there with me, they went to different exit ways than I did. Like we wouldn't go in the same one. We always had to go in a different area. So I remember when I went in there, like you had to crawl through. You're on your hands and knees. And that's another tricky thing about it. You had to crawl through it. We all did. But as we went in there, we can hear these two doors sliding behind us. So when you went in there, as soon as those doors shut, it was a horrible feeling. Like you knew you were not going to get out until you finished this maze you had to go through. So at the close, like the lights that were in there, like they're like long thin, like this going all over the whole of the floor on the bottom of the whole maze. And there'll be like symbols, like they're raised symbols, like the ones you had to learn or studying. They're on those lights, and they were black. They were black color. So I had to look at those, read those, and then I had to follow it down. And when there was like a turn there, it wasn't like our turns, it was a curved turn, right? They were like that. And as you get to this turn, you'll see more lights going up on the side of the wall there where it turns, like, and there'll be more symbols on there. Because what it would on the bottom there would tell you which way to go, or where you're supposed to go in the turn. So it has symbols. Okay, is this the turn I want to take, or is the next one I want to take down? It was like that. So we've done that. And I noticed like another thing too, this maze had different levels, and it has something like ramps. Like it wasn't really steep or anything. It's like a little ramp you had to go up or down if you want to go up to upper level, or you want to go down to the lower level. You had to go down like these ramps, and you wouldn't fall or anything down them, you know, but you had to do that. And I remember my first couple times in there, I would go through this maze, get further into it. Then I realized I can feel like a breeze coming. Where's this breeze coming from? Why am I feeling a breeze? And got further down in it. And instead of seeing lights, I can see like a little opening, like different shapes, like for an opening there. And that's where the breeze was blowing at. I thought, okay, it must be time for me to leave this area. So I brought my face down to the floor, and I can see outside. But I thought, okay, I'm in here and the trees are lower to me, like they're down lower from where I was at. And then I finally realized, oh, I have to go down lower. So I went through, and I went down through several levels. And then I kept going through again. Then I could feel a breeze again coming in. So I kind of used that to guide me as well as the symbols. And I could see the open spots again. I thought, yes, this is how you get out. So I went over, being frantic, right? I wasn't concentrating because before you get there, it tells you what entrance to leave. But I was such in a hurry to get out. I couldn't find the right place to open. So you do, we would kick them with our feet, right? And just get out that way. But it took me a while. I was a little frantic, couple times. I remember crying really hard before I got out, but I did finally find it. And after you get out, you had to, there's a certain spot in the field there where you had to run to. Like they give us a certain area, there's certain trees. We use trees as a marker. That's where we had to run out there as fast as we can to get into this spot. And we wait there till everybody came.
Now, did everybody finish the course?
The girl, remember one time she didn't make it. We're standing there waiting for her. She wasn't showing. Okay, where is she? And I remember hearing this horrible screaming, like a girl screaming like crazy, screaming. Apparently she didn't make it. Her time ran out and they caught her as she came out. Since her time ran out, she couldn't finish it. And I guess she just couldn't take it. And we didn't see her from then. I didn't see her anymore. She didn't pull through. No,
Now,
she,
was this maze a thing that you had to do a lot?
yes, I did multiple times. Yes, I have. To a certain age, and we stopped.
Okay. Wow, fascinating. I haven't heard this before, so
No. Some people told me, like the people I interviewed told me it almost sounds like military. I don't know. Maybe it has their own opinion, but people did use that on me. But no. Like this is other meetings do once. I actually did have some tell me. They read somewhere else, someone else had the same thing happen to them with a mace, very similar. I never got from them who it was. It'd be interesting to know. Yes, the Zoom thing was on once. And I thought, geez, but they didn't tell me who it was. It'd be interesting if I could find someone else that went through that. Yeah.
I suspect the ship you were on was huge to have all those rooms.
It was huge. It was huge.
Did you see only, well, what type of beings did you see on the craft?
Just Grace.
Okay.
That's all I remember. That's all I remember. So, there's one part I did not put in my book because it just sounded too confusing for me. But I swear up and down, one of the boys was in there with me. Like I had my book, but the room there had a door in there to the side there and had like a window in the top. And this boy kept telling me, he goes, don't you see that man in the, there's a man looking at us through the window. Didn't you see a man looking at us through the window? And I never seen it, but he swore up and I remember that. He swore up and down he's seen the man looking at us at the window, like watching us while this was going on. We're learning our symbols.
Wow.
I didn't put that in my book. I don't know. Sometimes you get your book edited as people know. Sometimes there's parts they don't put in there. So that could be one reason why, but I just understand what I'm saying.
So you were really contacted by two different factions.
Like I have counted. I remember Men in Black during my childhood.
Yeah.
I remember them. I was confused by them. I knew they weren't doctors, but no, they weren't good. So I knew that you say you've seen. Yeah.
So well, okay, well, you were talking about Men in Black. Now, how did they approach you?
Okay, my first memory, the Men in Black. I remember I was aware of being underground somewheres. I remember that. I knew it was in the, I think as a child, I knew it was in the basement. I knew it was something else. And it was dark. And I had one at each side of me. I remember him having to hold me and he was taking me down this hall. It was dark. It was really dark. Like you can still tell where you're at, but it was dark. And he was taking down the hall, and I could see like lighting coming up like on the side of the walls there. I've never seen that. And he took me down the hall. I remember being at other doors there, like, and he took me down. It was to the left. We took a turn to the left. He opened the door. Then he took me in this room. And the atmosphere was terrible. And he took me in there. And there's another man there as well. Another man been in there. And one of them picks me up and sits me down on this examining table. Like, again, it was dark, but I still could see, but it was dark enough, you know, that uncomfortable feeling. And I remember just sitting on the examining table. There was a table across from me, a white table, fold-up table across from me. And one of the men there had a briefcase on him. So he picks it up, puts on this white table. And he takes out something like a chart, and he's going through it. I think of those hospital charts, you know, our doctors, you see they have sometimes. Let me think of one of those. And he's going through that. And then he puts it down on the table. And then both of them come over to me. And one goes at the end of the table and one down by my head, the other man. And one of the other tells me to lie down. But I didn't want to lie down because I knew if I lied down, no, danger was going to come. So I lied on the table, lied down, I didn't have much of a choice. Next thing I know, one reaches over, grabs the ball of my shirt, pulls my shirt off, and the other one grabs my pants and just yanks it right off, the same way the aliens do. And I'm lying there with nothing on. I'm terrified. So doctors don't do this. And I'm lying there. And I noticed to my left, the wall, or side of me, the back wall there, was black as night. And I thought, oh no, what's this? Why is this so dark? And I can hear something, which is unusual. Like the grays, I never hear one sound from them. Like I heard something like a deep guttural mumble or something, deep guttural mumbling. I thought, what is that? Then I can see something like wearing black. And I can see not much of the face. I said it was a little dark. I couldn't really see much of the face, but there was something coming from there. And they didn't want me looking that way for sure. They could tell me not to look there. And then I noticed they came closer. They were huge. They were tall. They were wide. They're wearing like a black hooded cloak thing. And I got closer, I can see their face. And I thought, lizards? You know, they made me think of T-Rex since my childhood. And they were huge. They had a funny smell. I wouldn't say it was really gross, but they had a funny, musty smell. And they came over to me. They were huge. And there was like a few of them. One went down to the end of my feet where one of the men was at, and one up by my head there. And they're kind of like leaning over me. It was like the men in black and these lizards leaning over me. The last thing I remember, one by my head, this hand was huge. Oh Lord, they lifted up this hand over my face. Under this huge lizard hand went over my face, and it went down on my face, and I smelled something, and it knocked me out. Wherever it was, it knocked me out. And that's all I remember. I had that like 5 times. I remember. It could have been more, but I just remember 5. This was kind of just before I started seeing Angie when that happened.
Could you describe the men in black that you saw?
Oh, I remember one had like a bit of a, not a whole, but little curly hair. One had that. He was taller than the other one. He was a big man, had blue eyes. The other one, he was a little small. He seemed younger too. He was a younger one. He had like the straight hair. I'm not sure it was deep brown or black. Well, somewhere's in there, but his hair wasn't. It was not like his was straighter, and he seemed a little fairer than the other one. He had brown eyes. One had blue eyes. He's one had a brown.
So both of them had their were wearing the typical black suit.
Yeah, they had the black. They had the white shirt, black tie, the jacket, and the pants, and the black shoes. And oh yes, I forget one of one of them was before they started examining that one was actually wearing sunglasses too. I almost forgot to put that in there. One was seeing sunglasses. One was wearing sunglasses, and I couldn't figure out why he was wearing them. But he eventually did take them off. Yeah, but he was a big man. He was tall. One of them
Yeah.
was intimidating, and he seemed a little rough too. He had that rough, yeah. He had that
Sad.
personality.
So they didn't actually hurt you.
I just remember that. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, but what was going on?
You probably had like governmental harassment also associated with that, military.
Yeah, that's not the crossed my mind.
Yeah.
I didn't put too much in there because it was kind of personal. There is something in between, but I just thought I just couldn't put in my book, to be
Okay.
honest. But you're right there, the harassment, yeah.
Okay. Ever
Yeah.
got these the typical like black helicopter perhaps?
I remember as a child, um, I had a horrible fear of old black cars. I never had that fear. And I always had a gray interior inside, like gray interior inside them. That's something I did not put in my book. I think some people just when I did my book, the editor just didn't understand the alien and the human involvement. You know what I'm saying? I got that impression from them, but I always did have a fear of those. And I remember it's a park I used to go to. I remember I would see them down there, and sometimes I'm walking down my front street, I would see them as well. That there's some stuff that didn't make it into my book. I wish it did, but it
Yeah.
didn't. I don't plan on putting. I disappoint people. I don't plan on doing the second one
Okay.
really. So, but that's basically covers it all. But I do still have things happen today.
So
But
they were spying on you?
follow me. I never being followed.
So when does Angie come into play?
Not too long after the thing with reptilians, and I remember again I was in bed. I just woke up, and in my bed, like I had my mom would change her room around quite a bit. So when Angie was coming, I had the window just across from me. I look up and I can hear like knocking in my window. And I look, there's a woman. It's like, what? You know, because I live in a two-story. It's like, how is there a woman in my window? And then she noticed, like I noticed her. I sat up in my bed and she comes over. I mean, when I see she comes over, I mean, she literally walks through the wall in the window. Like there was nothing there. Like we had like a brick house, you know, and she just walked right through, no problem. She comes over to me. She's very gentle, very peaceful, like very calm personality. And she starts talking to me. She knows my name. But I thought, how does this woman know my name? And she comes over and I'm sitting on my side of the bed there. And she sits down with me and she starts talking to me. And she knows everything about me, my parents. She knows everything. And I thought, how does she know everything? And she knew I was going through the grace, the struggles, and the horror I've been going through with them. Man, lack everything. She knew about that. And I thought, how does she know? So I'll just go by how I got her name. But when I first seen her, I thought she's an angel. So at first, I called her, like, I thought she was an angel. So we started talking, and her name, I could not pronounce her name. No matter how hard I tried to pronounce her name, she told me what it was. I just couldn't say it. And so, okay, I'm like, she's an angel, so I'll just call her Angel. So that time I called her Angel for a while. But anyways, we're talking, and she goes, Lisa, she says, I want to show you something. And I thought, okay, so she tossed me, right? She tossed me into going out with her. So she gets up, she goes towards same way she came in, right? And I thought, okay, how's this gonna work? How are we gonna go outside? So she went out, and I was behind her. And I noticed as I stepped through the wall, I felt like you're going through liquid. That's the way of putting it. It's like that's the feel of it, like when you go through water. It's similar to that. And as I about to step out, I noticed, okay, she floated down to the ground. And here I am stuck in between step out the wall and going outside, and they're going. I got concerned. I was like, oh, I'm gonna fall. And she says, Lisa, she says, you're not gonna fall. She says, trust me. So, okay, so I worked up the nerve to step out. And when I did, I could feel it was different. It wasn't as aggressive as the grays. Like there's still like an energy. And what it did, it didn't, it just, it was like a visible hand just holding on to you and just lift, take you down to the ground. That's what it felt like. And I know she's looking to the right. And I thought, what's she looking at? There's nothing there. So I thought I'll just run over with her and see what she's looking at. But she knows me starting to run right. She actually took a hold of me. But she didn't want me running to her ship. And I thought, I didn't see anything there. She goes, Lisa says, slowly, she says. So we walked over slowly, still see nothing. Then just a little bit more, I noticed seemed like a blur, the funny blurry thing. And as I got closer, like it's trying to get more into detail what it looked like. But as you got closer to it, the blurry looked like a blur mirage image, if you know what I mean. Like and I go, it's forming into a triangle. So I got closer to it. I can see that was a triangle ship, and it had a smaller triangle piece on top of it. I could see that. And looking at it, it's like looking at a mirror. It's just so shiny like a mirror, you can see yourself. And it was really pointed. Like when I see triangle, like I'm more like a wedge shape, and it was so pointed at the front. And it was a small one, so enough for two people. And she let me examine it, I was looking at it. And the thing that got me is like, there's no landing gear. How's it not touching the ground? How's it hovering over the ground? So I got really curious. So I thought I'll take a look underneath it. And she let me, she said, yeah, you can take a look underneath. So I did underneath it. And it's amazing. And it's like it felt lukewarm. It did, it's really hot. Like the summer, it was like lukewarm. And I went underneath it. And I noticed there's a piece in the middle. It looks something like a raindrop or a tear shape. It's just the way it was shaped. And again, it had that smooth metallic surface, like really reflective. And so she called me, from underneath it. And I thought, okay, I want to take a good look at outside. So I went down to the end of it there, and I could just see how pointed it was. It just stuck out. And I looked up, I could see the middle piece again. And again, it had like a pointed tip on the front of it. And I thought, how do you see? There's no windows. So she took me around the back of it. And she took my hand and we floated up on top of their ship. And it was like, how do you get into it? Like there's no opening, there's just no doors, no windows. How do you get into this thing? So I looked down at it and I looked at the top part. You know, when you take a rock, you drop it in the water and how it goes like a circle. That's the best way to describe how this opened. It's like I see a circle, but in the middle circle, you see like a white, and it got brighter as it opened up. It was so neat how that, and I thought, oh wow. So I went in first, and inside the ship was like white, like a bright white. And when I first sat down, I didn't go in the right spot. So she had asked me to move over to the right. So I went over to the right side and she sat down on the left. And I was sitting there, looked up, and I can see where the window's at. It was like, wow, I can see the two houses across from us. That's where we're right in the front yard there. And it's like fascinating. It's a big window too, like wide open. This way it was. That was like the top was like that was shaped. And you had like a log in front of you, and you got like miles long right each side, so you had a good view. And we're sitting in there talking. I was talking to her, and you know, in an airplane, you hear the engines going, you feel movement. Like I was talking to her, I didn't know that we're going anywhere. To I looked out the window, and I thought, wow. We were above ground, we were moving, and that fascinated me. And we're going pretty fast too. Like you look down, everything's like a blur. And the same token, you weren't feeling any G-force or anything. You're just sitting there. It was so calm and relaxing. And she took me multiple times. Multiple times she would take me in her ship, and we'll go around the planet, and eventually she took me above the, like I remember she started taking me out more, like further. I get in her ship, and I swear it's just the 2 seconds from my front yard right over the planet looking down, just a couple seconds. And I thought, wow, it just blew me away how quick this thing could move. And you know, you see on TV, like in zero gravity, like your hair's floating around, or you know, you're not strapped down, you're floating. Her ship wasn't like that, and it just blew me away how that was. And I remember sometimes she would take me in the water. She'd take me in there. One time it's a lake, and one time it's the ocean. Sometimes it'd be the ocean. And you just go in there, and her ship would move free through water as she would do the air. And when she took me above the planet, you know, it's amazing how this thing worked. Like, wow. And I remember one time she just take me out. We're on, just before we got in her ship, we're on top of the entranceway there. She goes, Lisa, she says, she goes, look down. And I thought, what's she talking about, look down? So I looked down at her ship. You can see the moon and the stars and the clouds just reflecting off her ship. It was just beautiful. It's just like a mirror. It was, I remember those so well. It's kind of to see how that on her ship reflecting everything. Yeah.
Was the ship like a few meters in length?
This way to put it, just how can I put it? It's, think of a maybe a large size car shaped as a triangle, that size.
Oh,
In a front yard.
okay.
This way to put it, try to get the size. Well, I'm not really good at, you know, but yeah, measuring, but just think of that way. Set in a triangle, this way shape.
Now, when during those trips, was how long did it take? Were you gone a few hours?
Probably was, yes. More likely because she probably took me midnight-ish and maybe brought me back before in the morning.
So your parents weren't ticked off because you were gone.
The evening, no. Well, since you mentioned my parents, my mom told me an interesting story. She had a memory. Um, she just got up one night, and I guess she went to my room. As she went to her room, she got as far as the doorway of my bedroom. And like the bathroom was just across from my bedroom at that time. So she got up and she came to my doorway and she noticed there was a woman there looking at her. And she remembers me going towards Angie. All she can see is my backside. And but she remembers looking at this woman. It was really how she put it. She didn't feel, she felt peace from this woman. Like she felt no threat or anything from her. But the same token, my mom felt helpless because there's nothing she could do. And all she remembers, there's this woman there with her daughter, and there's nothing she can do about it. But the thing that got me, I never told my mom anything about Angie, what she looks like for the longest time, like for years. I never told my mom what she looks like. And she would tell me about this memory she had. And she would describe to her in full detail what she looks like. Her hair, her eyes, there's something about her eyes, everything in full detail. Her skin color, everything. She just got her down, what she was wearing, her height, everything. She just described it all. And another story she told me too, like my sister, I always had that concern. Like I remember one time, first I'll tell you one thing before I get to about my sister, but I remember one time Angie came. I was running behind her, go with her, right? And as I was doing that, my sister was down at the other end of the wall there, her bed. And as I was about to step out, I could see a dark figure moving with my right eye, the peripheral vision. And I turn my head and oh no, my sister's up. She's gonna see us. She's gonna see us. She's gonna tell my mom.
Oh,
And Angie says, "Don't worry about it." She says, it'll just be like a dream to her, right? So I end up running out the window and I can hear her come up behind us. And yeah, but
so nothing happened to your
anyway,
sister?
I don't remember anything going on after that. But my mom would tell me, like some nights when she would tuck us in the bed, right? She put me to bed, then my sister, right? And my sister would tell my mom, she goes, Mom, she says, some nights I wake up, I'll see a woman in her window. Okay. And my sister described her in full detail what she looks like to my mom. And she never knew at all what this one looked like. And my sister seen her. And I remember one time I was older, but living in a different area. And my poor sister, she goes, did I tell you about that woman I used to see in her window when we were kids? And she described her in full detail. It's just, I mean, I never told them at all. So how do they know? Like people say, maybe it's just your imagination, but when you have other people saying, I mean, how do they know? You just think of that,
Mm.
described in full detail. Which made me feel good because I knew for sure then, it gave me credibility even for myself, I'm not the only one that's seen this. Seen her.
Fascinating.
Yeah, they only seen her. They never seen any ship or anything, but they have seen her.
So eventually, Angie brought you up to her own like mothership, let's say.
Yes, oh, that was another experience too. It was huge. I remember like she as we like first like she done it before, like she has took me through her solar system and sometimes she make a little game. Can you tell me what your plans in your solar system are, right? And I would tell her if I knew anything about them, anything I learned, like runes or whatever. Sometimes I didn't do so good with that. I was only young, but One time she took me outside her solar system, and I thought, oh, where are we going? I thought maybe she's going to take me to her world, because I was hoping that she would let me take a peek at her world, right? But anyways, I never saying to me, Lisa says, I'm going to take you somewhere special. It's a secret place I'm going to take you to. So we went outside, and they're still seeing all these stars. Like when she took me, like I tell people, like people think Star Trek, you're just whisking through space. But I remember with her, it's like we go to one spot, then we jump to another spot, then we jump to another spot, if you know what I mean. We traveled that way. So I found that interesting. So she took me out in a few minutes, and she goes, Lisa, can you see it? And I thought, there she goes again. Does she want to show me this? So we went a little further, and then I could see again like a blurred thing, but it was huge. It was as far as your eye can see. You can turn your head this way and your head that way, and there's just no end to it. And as we got closer to it, it's like a mirror. I can see all the stars. So when it reflects like that, you don't even know there's something out there. You just think you're looking at stars. It's interesting. And as you got closer to, on the science fiction show, they show this huge door open up. This wasn't like that. It just opened up just for the size of her ship only. And again, it's like you drop a rock into water and you see like a circle. It opened the same way. And as we went in, it was just like all white. They had a white interior, like her ship. And I went in there. And when you went in, it was like a big, huge area where ship went, like open area. And we went in there. And when we came out, we were greeted by a man there. I called him her boss. And he would greet us. And I remember her ship looked all white because in the interior of the hangar that we're going into was all white. So her ship, reflected the white. And I remember on the bottom, it looked like there's a whitish blue light going around the bottom of her ship. I remember that. And we went in. Then we took a turn to the left. We walked down the ways there, and that's where they took me into the hangar. And it was huge. It was huge. And it had like all white interior as well. And when I first went there, I didn't see the construction of the ship right away, but I remember I went in there and she was talking to the guy there. He was a little taller than her. And like Angie had a really white, snow white hair, but his hair is more of a reddish color. And they were talking. I wasn't meant to know what they're saying. Like I had this part of my book, I was talking, and I didn't know what they're saying. I could see them talking, but I couldn't hear them. And being an experiencer, I had all kinds of depression and everything else, right? And because of it, and I'm saying myself, yeah, like all the other adults are talking about me. That's what I thought. Because my mom and dad, they're always talking about me because I was always depressed and everything, right? Because what I was going through. So I just thought, so I'm not meant to hear what they're saying. Then they finished talking. And I remember this little girl, she's year older than me. And she came over to me and she started talking to me, telepathic. And she had light long hair, fair complexion, but just her eyes being blue, her eyes were yellow. Her yellow eyes, really bright yellow eyes. They're pretty. And she started talking to me. She asked what her name was, so I told her my name was Lisa. And yeah, she's like a little friend to me, so I got acquainted with her pretty well. I saw her, like I went to the hangar multiple times, and she was there with us most of the time. And And so I got used to her. There's other kids there too, right? I never a boy, but I didn't become friends with them like I did the little girls. So, but there's other kids there. And I remember it was huge. And I remember altogether this huge hangar I was in, like they had 3 really large entranceways. Like they had one down at the very end of it when you first get in. And then there'll be, you go down a little ways further, there'll be one in the middle. Then you go way down the other end, had another large entranceway, it's like a rectangle shaped entranceway. And every time I got to one of these entrances, if you look out the door, I can see like vehicles going down. Like it's like a road, like it's not like a highway. I would see them just racing, like going down, not really fast, but quick enough. And I go see them whisking by there, like there'll be like a really long one. And it had like cargo in the back of it. I'm not sure what it was. It was wrapped up in some type of fabric. I never seen those. And then there's a smaller one that it would come in. And it's something like a golf cart without the cover on it. Looks something like that. I do have that in my book as well. I drew it so people know what I'm talking about. And I remember that's how that little girl would get there. I didn't learn right away till later on. One time she came in, she was on that cart. And that's how she would travel.
Fascinating.
It was interesting. Yeah, it was.
That must have been something. The way that they jumped reminded me of what we saw in Battlestar Galactica. Now, Star Trek, they'd have their own warp drive. In
Yeah.
Battlestar, they would, and they had their own propulsion, but when they would move through space, they'd jump. So fascinating.
Another thing too about the ship, I was talking to the little girl. She told me I don't know if there's some stuff didn't get in my book. I don't know why, but she did have living quarters, like a living spot where she lived. She told me she's up on another level, like pretty high, just like 5 levels in there. And did have living quarters in there. And I had a feeling too. I just had this feeling, it was a memory or just this feeling, but I had a feeling she was actually born in that ship. And it's huge. Like I can see people being there for years in that ship easily. Easily.
Did you see it from outside?
Well, I've seen it from outside, yeah, but as I was saying, like this is big, big, huge, like a mirror thing, like reflective, like it's pretty good cloaking that I can see. So they want to hide, they probably could hide.
Now, getting back to the human type ETs that you met, did they have normal type of like pupils, or did they have slits?
Oh no, they were normal pupils. They didn't have any slits. No, they're just like ours, a little bigger, but they had no slits.
Hmm.
No, they were and another thing too, they didn't have any military hairstyle cut here, like the hair. They didn't show any signs like Angie mostly wore like a blue flight suit and it had like a little V opening in the neck. She wore that. And but when she brought me to the hangar, she wore a 2-piece suit. It has still had like the V opening in the neck, and she had that, those 2-piece. So there's other people in there, like I'll get to the construction of the ship, but I did see a ship put together. And I noticed there's 2 people that are running this, like 2 groups of men. Like the men were wearing a light gray flight suit type of thing. And then there's another group was wearing like a tan, like a light tan. Yeah, and there were ones that were running, they were always there during construction of the ship. They were always there.
Who's Brandon?
I couldn't really remember their names, but Brandon is the one I named. I think I mentioned in my book I wasn't going to use their real names, but Brandon is the leader. Yeah,
Of the entire crew?
ours I know he's the boss, yes.
Okay.
Like he's always there. He always seemed to have things in order, you know what I mean? Like he's the one. Angie had to go to him to get permission for me to go on her ship. She told me she had to get permission from him. She told me, I don't know if I said there's some parts I don't remember didn't get in my book, but she told me that she had to get permission. She usually does not do that with people. She usually does not do that. And I found that interesting. As a kid, I didn't really understand. I thought experience like there's other kids there with me, right? Like humans. There weren't any other humans there besides me. Like they learned that they go, "You're from Earth, aren't you?" The kids, right? But as far as I know, I was not very common. And I had ufologists, like people I spoke with, they told me you're unusual, and didn't know that.
So yeah, could you talk about how they built the ships?
Okay, this one, let's hope you can show the pictures. It's hard to, I put pictures in my book so people know it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like they took me down the far back of the hangar. Like there's a certain part there. Like I even seen other ships in there as well. I had even under construction. But the one I seen her put together, it was the same type of ship she she was using. So I remember, see the frame at first, when I first looked at it, I thought, okay, what is this? And the best way to describe it, it's like for the frame for the window and where you're sitting. And since it's a triangle piece, it was like this way to describe it, like the top part was like a long piece of metal, a different type of metal than we have, like for the window in the middle where the glass connects. It's like a triangle shape, the pointed part. And underneath that, you can see where the stuff, like where they had inside the ship was at. They had a piece like it's something like a V shape attached underneath it. And then that was on top of another piece, shaped similar to the top part, but as like a thing for it to be sitting on. It's hard to explain. First it was that, like they showed me that piece and they told me what it was for. And next time I seen it, I went back there. Second time I went back, they had like a piece sitting on top piece underneath where the frame is at, sitting in there, and it filled up the whole thing in there, and I could tell what it was. Like it was the piece there. Like in her ship, you do not have the controls like we have in ours. You don't have the wheel or any clutch or anything like that. That wasn't in there. And in front of me, there was like a ball, like a white glowing ball on my end. And down her side was like a small screen. And that piece was put in there for that. But at first, before they had the ball and everything in there, it's just like an empty shell, it looked like it was made out of wax. It's interesting, but it wasn't wax. It was really strong. What it was a different type of material. Like I never seen. It was like white, and they had that. And when I went back again, like they show me in small stages. When I went back again, I seen some parts that would go inside of it, but it's not like the pieces we have. It's not any like computerized stuff or wires or anything like that. It's like little pieces in different shapes, and they would connect somehow. Like they had like a magnetic, how they would hold together. And I drew a picture of it in my book. Like it's like a diamond, but something like a diamond shape, but it had extra side to like you lie a diamond down in front of you, and one of the corners there where it connects. Just imagine instead of connecting, there's a little piece in there that separates them. It looks like that, and it was really heavy. Like it was the same width as Angie's hand, like the length of the size, and she let me hold on to one of these pieces. And I had to use both my hands. Brandon was on my right hand side there, just in case I needed help holding it. And Angie put my hands, I had my hands out like this. And I can still remember seeing it in my small hands. And each piece corner was sticking over my hands. And it was heavy. I was surprised how heavy it was. It was not light. It was heavy. Like a really heavy dead weight to it. And it was mostly white too, but it had like a little piece sticking on one side there. It was like a blackish grayish color, and it had like rings going around it, like white rings, and it was interesting. And had a little piece in the middle, like a black piece. And it wasn't really what you call flat surface either, like there was some little roundness to it. There's some that was pieced together, like metal. And there was that piece, and there's other pieces too, but they're in different shapes, And one time she just thought like how she entertained me with how they worked. She had something like a white towel or something on the floor. They put some pieces on the floor. And if how things work, like somehow your mind is connected, like how you make the technology work. Like they put some parts on the floor, and she put her hands over it, and they just raised up off the floor of it. She goes, Lisa says, you give it a try. So the first couple times it didn't work. I was there getting frustrated. Just don't be frustrated. She says, just don't think. Just put your mind, don't have to think hard. Just put your mind they're rising up. And I've done it. And I was so excited. They finally dropped again. But they actually went off the floor a little bit. And I thought, okay, and I could feel energy somehow. It was interesting, the energy from my hands. It was interesting. Not just your mind, but it was, yeah.
So what was the purpose of that diamond in your hand?
That was part of inside their ship.
Okay.
And it was very magnetic. They can pull together and extract in their own well. Like if you want them to pull together, they could. If they want to extract, they could. It's their energy, what kept me from floating around the ship, I don't know. Is it has something to do with that? I don't know. It's interesting. And everything they had there, it's like you use your mind to control it. Like everything, like when this remember she's just taking a small ship. So sometimes she let me fly it, and inside the ship there, on my left hand side, there's a small, long piece running side there where you can rest your arm as you're sitting in her ship there, right? On my side there was a gray piece, and I remember I had to put my arm on that as well, my hand on the upper part of it. I was just sitting in a chair, and I would think how I want the ship to move. So with my thought and way I would lead my fingers over to the right on top of this piece, the ship would turn right. If I want to turn my fingers over to the left side of this piece, the ship would turn left. So it had to do with thought and motion. If I want the ship to move forward, I just slightly let my arm slide on this piece and think, okay, I want to move forward, how fast I want to move forward. And if you want to go down, you gently just put your hand on the top of this finger and gently put pressure like downward, and you think you want to go down, it will go down. But this part's my book as well. One time I got too excited. I leaned too forward and I brushed my arm on it, and at the same time I brushed my arm for full length this great piece and pushed my finger down too hard. The ship went like this, nose down. I just remember my hands like this digging to the front piece, my feet in the floor, like I thought we're just gonna go downward. I can remember the scene lights. That's she fixed the ship in no time. I actually done that a few times for a dollar, right? Yeah.
So was there a telepathic
Yeah,
aspect
yeah,
to it?
like somehow your mind is connected with the ship somehow. It's yeah, I found it interesting. Like your thought and how you were moving, like you're connected with somehow.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. Even inside the hangar there, like they had a thing there, what they carry, like they had like long, thin pieces of metal, and they had like a crate there, right? And this crate. And the thing too, it had no wheels. Same thing. I didn't mention that earlier. Same thing with these cars they used. They had no wheels. They just glided on the floor. Their vehicles just glided on the floor. And this crate they had to carry their long, flat, thin piece of metal. It was. She wanted it to come over closer to us, so she looked at it and just glided over to her. And on there, she was looking at a big smile on her face. You can tell what's going on in my mind in there. How that by itself, it's like out of this thing, it just glided across on the floor. Yeah, there's no wheels. It just
Wow.
glides. Yeah.
Could you describe the driver?
Well, the ones driving the vehicles?
Yeah.
Oh, they're the ones that are most. They're the ones in the light gray suits I
Okay.
mentioned earlier. They're the drivers. Yeah.
Because there was one instance where you also wore a white suit with a helmet.
Oh, the light gray suit with the helmet.
Yeah.
Oh, you talk about the tail end when they're putting the craft together.
Yeah.
This is radiation. I didn't understand radiation back then, and she told me it's for protection, right? And in my law, it's okay if you're wearing a helmet, it's because of falling debris, right? I didn't understand the term radiation. Like she tried to explain, but I just didn't get it. But she's just to protect me from getting hurt, like as in sick from, so the radiation. It can
Yeah.
yeah, it's from radiation because where they put together, because there's one part after they had all the seats and everything, and the first part, let's talk about the frame not going together. Yeah, she could sit in the seats, right? But when it came to the middle, like the rest of the ship, like from the middle to the ending of it, you couldn't go near it. I had to keep distance.
Yeah.
And then maybe you get little too little. There's just the last part is when they were putting, like they had the whole ship belts, but it didn't have the covering on it, like the mirror surface on it. So they let me in closer to look at that. And this is when it gets really interesting. I had to put a suit on because of that, because for some reason, without that protecting the skin on it, and like what they did, they raised it off the floor. It was the radiation, since didn't have this outer shell on it yet, which made me think of mercury. And it was the most interesting thing. I'll talk about that. I remember like they had it. I was looking face on at it, right? And they had it come up off the floor. And they had like this thing in back of it. And they had like something like 3 brackets or something going along the side of it. And it was floating. And I can see something from this long piece over it. It looked like mercury coming out from this thing, and it's falling right in the middle on back of the ship in the middle of it, right? It looked like they had like a visible like thing on it, because somehow it was collecting all this liquid and it's forming around the her ship, right? And it was kind of neat. And those brackets on the three of them, it's like lasers, like red and blue lasers, and one would be going each side be going on top of it, in the middle of it, like going along the middle of it, and the bottom is like it was sealing on the yeah, it was interesting. The
Hmm.
there, yeah, it's hard to explain that.
Yeah.
It
It's
was
fascinating that you're talking about mercury because I've seen a few reports where they were talking about using mercury to
hmm,
as like during space travel. So
wow. Oh, that's
fascinating
neat.
that you're yeah.
Yeah.
When did you because in your book you talk about a planetarium. Was that during the with the Greys or with the
Oh,
humans?
that was a grace. I honestly believe that was a reward. If you did not fight them, did not misbehave, it was given to you as a reward. I really believe that's what it was. But I remember they took us down a different direction. Like usually the areas are close. Like if you had to go from we learned the symbols down to the maze, it's down one area. But when you had to go into the planetarium, we go around halfway down a hall. And we took a turn to the left and we took a couple other turns. It was a little longer walking down there. So it's a huge ship. It took us a while to get down there. But I remember, again, everything was all white. The walls are all white, everything. And then we go into this room. It's like, oh wow, it's like light brown color and the walls and that. And we go in there, and the back of it, you would see this huge window. I mean, you should go up to the ice, see the stars. I remember I would go up and just press my face, like lean on it, and I get the feel I was out in space. And it was quite an experience just doing that alone. And I remember one in there, they had like this huge copper colored plaque, like this huge thing on the wall, like, and it was long, it was really long, and you can see what it was. It was showing the travel the Greys did in years, like all that they one in the like one this whole thing, you see the long star chart, like all these different stars and everything, like where they were going. It's like a big huge map of where they were traveling from to Earth and beyond. That's exactly what it was. It was huge. I actually learned how big space is from the Greys. They taught me it's huge. It's more than people imagine. It was huge.
And people
But
still
again,
believe we're alone in the universe.
oh no, it's not crazy.
I know.
I don't get that. That's laughable. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. How could you think that?
Like,
I don't know. Maybe people are like Star Trek. Maybe they think, well, they in Star Trek they can go blasting through space. To me, in my experience, like I don't know everything. No, I'm not trying to say I know everything, but in my experience, what I know of, to me, it doesn't seem real. Like they, like I said, they jump from one spot to a next to a next. It takes a while. My knowledge, it took them years to go through all that, and they want to go down back the other end. It's going to take them a while.
coming back to the your experience in the hangar, I think you saw an oval shaped craft and perhaps one that looked like a boomerang,
Oh, at one I call like a stingray.
a
Yes,
stingray.
I did see one. I did see. Yes, I did. Yeah, I seen those. The one shaped like a stingray, it had like a funny, they call that wraparound. They had like a frame holding up this funny. You can barely see, you can see through it enough. I could see the shape of the ship was. And one time, one of the workers, he opened up a bit, and it opened like a zipper, not zipper, but maybe Velcro or something. He pulled it apart, and I'm there. Oh, neat! I could see what that is, and I actually got a good enough look at it. It was like it wasn't. It was still working on it. They still need quite a bit of work on it, and I thought, oh wow, I can get a look at this, but it looked like stingray. It was just I'm not good. I don't want these people not good at, measuring dimension in my mind, but it was bigger than hers. Like she told me some of those ships will carry like 5 to 8 people, so that tells you how big they are. Yeah, they're bigger than hers.
And how
And
about the oval one?
the oval one, I could see that one very well. Like the other one looked like the outer shell on it, like wasn't fully developed yet. They're still working on that. I think it had outer and internal work to be done on it. But the oval one, I could see that. It was floating off the floor. And again, it had the reflecting the white in the hanger. But this one was different. It was something like little black circles going around it. The sides there. I never seen that. Yeah. On the back and the side of it.
You suspect it might have been windows or portals?
I don't know. It could be windows because it's hard to say because that they're black though. Like her ship, the one doesn't look black. So I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know what that would be for.
Hmm.
I don't remember. And there's one there I couldn't see. It had like something like a wall going around it, and it has like white, and it had like the circles in the middle of it. And where these boards were standing up, I see like a little black piece in the, between them, holding together, going around it. So I don't know what that was. I just remember thinking, okay, but I can't see it. I'm not supposed to see it.
Yeah.
No, that's the way I was during my childhood, But I don't know. That's a mystery today. It's a mystery.
Did you talk about the your experience with the laser tool? I think you had your name was written on it.
Yes, okay, the middle piece of the ship. Like there's a piece in the middle there. I, yeah, that will have the pictures. But there's a middle piece, and again, like the symbols were all white, and they're raised. And the way it was going like up and down, and it had like lines going between them, like it was interesting. And as they were putting the ship together, I remember before they put the white on it, it was pitch black. It was a black object. Like it was the same shape as the pieces in the ship. It was pitch black. I found that interesting. And when they put that thing over it, and they put it on there, there's like it was interesting though how they put it on there. It's very flexible. It's very flexible. It's hard to explain. They just kind of they had an opening on top of it, and they pulled it over this object, this piece there, and then they used laser to seal it where it opened, so it was on top, and you never know. It looked like it's just all one piece. Their whole ship, they put together in different parts. It looked like it's just all molded together, like you know what I mean. You just didn't see, it's just all put together in one piece. It's amazing, but there was already symbols on it, but there's one part on the top there that was a space there left open, and they told me I could put my name on there. I thought, what? Okay, this is cool. So she gave me this little thing there. It's like a huge, I just got a huge pen. I did believe I drew that. And the top on the middle there, you can see like a black space in there. And when she put in the symbol I want to put on the thing, and for my name, and whenever she had it, and she put in the symbol for my first letter of my name, then she passed it to me. And and Brandon, he was behind me there, right, helped me with it. And they told me just to lightly push it down. And I did, like I feel like a tug, like a tugging, pulling feeling as I've done that. And I brought it up. Oh, neat. There's the first letter of my name. Yeah. It's interesting. And then I did the same thing with the other ones. Yeah, it was pretty neat. It's like joint lines. It's like I am I don't see my person for regression. I found symbols on the online were very similar to what I've seen, and she told me it looks like ancient Nordic.
Oh,
She told me my first regression. I thought, really? And that's why I call her a Nordic alien, because her symbols look like ancient Nordic.
like old runes?
Yeah, the joint lined ones. Yeah.
Okay, wow. You've had an experience with a black ball later on in the book?
Uh, black. Okay. This comes to my mind. Yes. What the black ball was, that's during the construction of ship again, too. Like, I guess it only glows white when it's functional. See, what the black ball was is a little round white ball I had in front of me when I was sitting in our ship. And it was glowing white. It was black. And it had like a gold piece underneath it. And you see like little thin hair. Looks something like wires. I don't think it was, but maybe think of wires. But they're very thin hair lined, and there's a bunch of them underneath it. but they're all neat, like straight down. They're all neat, like put into place. So I don't know what it really was, but to me, it made me think of wires. And it was quite heavy. She didn't let me handle it. Just this is too heavy for you. But she's shown that ball to me, and it's like a really shiny black. Makes me think of obsidian balls. That's what makes me think of. Yeah.
So you've had really a positive thing happen for you, going for you at least, regarding these human ETs.
Yeah. Like I never told anyone yet, but I have been making contact with her lately. I never told you the first one. I don't. I have been making contact with Angie lately. And my mom even heard from her. So we were going through rough times. I was having these crazy experiences. I had a Men in Black tell me to go after my mom, and they kept their word. And they went after my mom. So I asked Angie to help my mom, and she did. She helped my mom with that. There's horrible things going on with the Men in Black. I just couldn't believe it. If anyone told me that was going to happen, I was no. That's I just didn't. This is crazy. I mean, being followed and having these helicopters, and my poor mom, she lives in the fifth story of an apartment building, and one time she's sitting on the phone talking with me. She had her sliding doors wide open, and it was, I'm not sure what time it was. Like I call mom every Tuesday evening, talk on the phone. And I was talking to her on the phone like I always do, and top it off, I had my speakerphone on. I was talking to her. And all of a sudden she stopped talking. All I could hear was like a loud banging. And I mean loud banging. And I hear like swishing sound. And I thought, Mom, what happened? I thought, did something blow up? Was there a car accident or something happened? What's going on here? And she wasn't talking. I could hear all this ruckus. It was loud. I mean, very loud. And I finally stopped. I'm like, oh, Mom, what was that? No answer. And I said, Mom, what was that? And she started talking. She sounded really frazzled, like really nervous, like frightened. She did. And she told me what it was. She told me how there's a huge black unmarked helicopter. Their window was the same level as her the door. And her curtains, she had long curtains by her, in front of her sliding doors there, and they were blown straight out. I mean, straight out in front of her. Her hair was completely blown back on her. I go, Mom, how's this going on for? And she told me it's going on for a while. I couldn't believe it. No, they told me they were going to do that with her, and they kept their word. And she was having these horrible nightmares and experiences. It was terrible.
So they couldn't get to you, so they got to your mom.
Yeah, well, I just didn't care. I don't know if I should have had that attitude, but there's one time I thought I was dead because what I was going through. I thought it was literally dead, and doing after my mom. I couldn't believe it. I said, Mom, why she's not telling me sooner? She goes, I was afraid it'll stop you from. She's afraid I might cancel my book right because out by that. This is like later last year, not that long ago. This happened to her, and yeah, crazy.
My phone was
And
tapped, so I know how it feels, but I've never
I
had what you've been through.
I had my phone tapped. Oh, it's unbelievable. I'm like people talk about brush and all of them, right? And I'm just not into that because it doesn't seem real to me. I mean, all this stuff that's going on with us. I mean, how's this man saying all this stuff gonna make things better for us? It never did. And now this is going on. It's like, it's frustrating. Like, I know an experiencer, he's popular and he went through this helicopter thing as well and being followed. He went through that as well. So,
Yeah.
I'm not the only one.
So, okay, so you had these amazing adventures, at least as a kid. Anything of consequence happened to you as an adult? Did it stop? Did it slow down?
Not really. Actually had was in August. I had this interesting, I'm not sure what time it was. I said, I'm up, but I should get up and go to bed. So I got my living room. I walked down, like my kitchen's just right beside the living room there. I walked down on the kitchen there. I looked at the window, I thought, what the heck am I looking at? And I go, that's not the moon, girl. That's not the moon. You know it's not the moon. And next I know, the things start moving. It was a split in the image I saw at the field. It's the exact same sphere. Same, it's the size of the moon. It was a nice size. It wasn't tiny. It was the size of the moon. Like, I mean, the moon would be very big, and you see it, and it was moving, and it was bright orange.
Both of my UFOs were orange, red,
Yeah.
10 feet wide. Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
And not that long ago, just a couple months back, I had been having, like, my back helicopters are not up high. They're low. I mean, you can feel them, the house rattling before they right over your home. You can feel my place shaking. And they're black, large black helicopters. And they had that long pointed nose, you know, like you see the military choppers, right? They had that on them, and they're loud. You know, I think about military choppers, they're loud. You can hear them long before you see them, especially when they're flying low. And it's either late August or early September in there. I know, it's still nice outside. You know, I thought I'd go outside, sit on the front step, and I go up. So I sat down here, boom, 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 boom. I said, sweet, I don't got my camera on me. And so I got up. I walked down towards the end of my driveway. I said, Lisa, just wait. You know the darn things. It's coming. Just wait. I saw a large black helicopter, but it was a Chinook. It was a black Chinook. And it's just not that far from me. Just these are going over my home or flying around my home. This is just little ways down my street. Like I was going over, we have a field down every street there, a park there, and I was flying over there. And the thing was so low. I know if I waved down, you would see me. It was that low. And this sonic thunder, boom, boom. It's just, oh, they're so loud. And you got the Chinook, they got the double propeller. So it sounds like three instead of one. It's louder again. And I couldn't believe it. What I saw. Crazy.
So we've been at this for almost 2 hours at least.
Okay.
We've talked a lot. Like, do you have like a closing statement or perhaps a last story that you might want to share?
I had people ask me a lot what made me publish my book, and to be honest, it was my mom. She's the one that encouraged me to do it. And so okay, like I was writing a journal for a while, right? She goes, how about making it to a book? And I thought, oh, I'm not too sure. It took me forever writing my journal, like maybe 2 or more years, right? And it's like, I said, okay. And so I'd done that, and I got in contact with the editor and everything. And then one time I thought, maybe I don't want to do this after all. Maybe I'll just tell the publisher I don't want to do it, right? But when I'd done that, it didn't feel right. I said, no, this is not what I want. I said, I spent 2.5 years writing this thing. It was a lot. And I said, okay, I'll do the book then. And I said, I already contacted the publisher. So I got it done. And there's a story behind that. Other people, the other person I keep in touch with, he's very well known. I'm not going to say, but if you know, I know I say his name, but he's very well known. And I told him and other people, but I remember the day I was sitting down here. I was sitting on a different chair, this one. I was sitting down here, and I was getting to send my my book out to my publisher, so I can send it to editor and that. So I'm sitting down here, and I can feel someone standing beside me, and I thought, geez, this is weird. I never heard anyone come downstairs. I thought it was my husband or my son. I turned my head and I could not believe I was seeing. I'm a strong believer in remote viewing, and I'm aware that sometimes someone's remote viewing you. you can pick them up. That's what I did. I was sensing them. So I just turned my head like this, and I looked up, and I could not believe what I saw. It was a man in black standing right beside me. He was remote viewing me, and I could pick him up. And I thought, oh God, I just turned my head forward, look at the computer, and I can hear my mind saying, communicate my mind saying, you're not supposed to be doing this. He says, I wouldn't recommend you send your book out to Anna. I says, I wouldn't recommend you doing this. And he was really threatening, really cold. And I said, look, you're just in my head, go away. You're not want to hear it, leave. And it took a few seconds, but he left. But I couldn't believe it. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Like, I do believe in remote viewing. I have done it sometimes, well, wanting to, but I have done things, but I couldn't believe it. Ever since then, it went downhill for me. I mean, bad. It went bad. Then they will go after your family. They went after my sons. Go after my mom.
Well, give thanks to your mom, because without her, your story might have not been out.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been without her.
Yeah. It takes a lot of courage to come out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, thanks again for coming on. And to those watching today's interview, I hope you enjoyed it. I sure did. I'm your host, Mr. Great. More interviews coming up, and I'll see you guys next time. So take care, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Great, and thanks for watching today's episode. If you are an abductee, contactee, or experiencer, and you believe that your story could help others, please feel free to contact me through my YouTube channel email. When it comes to experiencers, the ET phenomena, and the future, remember, truth will out.